Just Imagine, a new podcast series by Imagine Theatre.
Hello again, how are you? My name is Martin Ballard and welcome to Just Imagine episode 7. Thanks for all your kind comments, by the way, after the first 6 episodes. You say you've enjoyed taking a look behind the scenes at the company. So far you've met actors, dancers, writers and set designers, the people who create and star in Imagine Theatre shows.
For more information, go to their website at www.imaginetheatre.co.uk.
First of all, though, don't worry if you've missed any of the previous episodes. You can catch up with them at any time. In episode 6, we met the award-winning theatre producer, arts advocate and chief executive at the Eden Court Arts Complex in Inverness, James Mackenzie Blackman. Now, this time, I've been joined by somebody who knows the Imagine Theatre story from the very beginning. His career spans more than 40 years in the children's entertainment industry alone, from Play School to Playdays to co-creating favourites like Fun Song Factory and the Tweenies. But he's also a writer, producer, director and actor. And what's more, you can see him annually as the Dame in Pantos at the Belgrave Theatre in Coventry. He is Iain Lauchlan. How are you, Iain?
Hello, Martin. I'm absolutely fine. Lovely to speak to you.
It's a really strange time, and we'll talk about COVID-19 in a bit more detail a little bit later on and how that's affected you. But let's start at the very beginning, to coin a phrase. Where did we, Iain Lauchlan, acquire a love of theatre from?
I suppose I did, like most people, started off in amateur dramatics. Although I was dragged along to the drama club at the school by a friend of mine. I was absolutely dragged along. I had no idea. I didn't really want to go. And I got a small part in a Shakespeare it was for one of these festivals, it was just part of the Shakespeare play that we did. Didn't really know what I was doing or anything. And I tell you, it seems very strange, but it was a great epiphany when I learned my lines.
Still is, probably.
That's for everybody else. I couldn't believe it. As soon as I learned my lines, which was quite near the time for doing the show, it just all kind of fell into place. And I knew what I was doing, and I really, really enjoyed it. And from that, I got one of the leads in the operetta the next year for his school. And that's kind of got me started. This same friend dragged me along to the drama club in Kilmarnock, where I was born and brought up. And I started doing lots of amateur dramatics. But I went to building college, actually. I was accepted into building college to be a surveyor. I just did. I really did. It wasn't me. I just didn't like it very much. And I remember thinking, I've had enough. And I was working in a grocer's shop during the holidays, and this girl came in and said she was applying for drama school, and I thought, maybe I could do that, to apply for drama school. And so I did. I applied for drama school, and I got my audition at the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama. I thought it was the only one in the country. That's how little I knew about it. I didn't know there was any other ones. I went to the head of my year at the building college and said, I'm leaving. Yes, I'm leaving. I'm not going to finish my course. I'm going to drama school. This is before I got an audition. Oh my God, when I think back. And so he was astounded to know I was going to drama school, but I went for the audition and I got in. Thank goodness I got in. I did my 3 years at Royal Scottish Academy, and I got my equity card actually before I left school. I was very lucky. I did a couple of tours with someone, and as soon as I left, I was asked if John Doyle, who's a very well respected director, and he directs a lot of Sondheim stuff now, he lives in New York, he came from Inverness and he wanted to set up a theatre company for the Highlands and Islands. He asked me if I'd come and help him set it up. So there's 4 of us went up to the Highlands and Islands, and I spent 2 years there doing about 12 tours on the Highlands and Islands. We all had 2 jobs. I made the sets and acted. And it was amazing. Really, we were touring around the Highlands and Islands, just kind of building up an audience. And it eventually became the touring rep of Eden Court Theatre.
Yeah, we were talking to James Mackenzie Blackman from Eden Court on the last episode. In the early days then, before you were probably dragged along to a drama club, did you ever go to see Panto as a kid?
The only time I ever went to the theatre, and we weren't a theatre family at all, was when our teacher, when I was in the last year of primary school, and our teacher took us to see the pantomime in Kilmarnock, the Palace Theatre in Kilmarnock. and I remember it so vividly. It was Beauty and the Beast. Actually, I'm doing Beauty and the Beast at the Belgrade this year. And so it was Beauty and the Beast, and I was just mesmerized by it. I couldn't believe really that this world was happening before my eyes, in the theatre. I just thought it was amazing. I really did. It was the first time I'd seen anything like it in my life. I'd never not really been to a live show before, and it was fantastic. And the contact with, we were allowed to join in and all that sort of things. It was a great story, and there was great characters on stage, and it was just amazing. I'd never experienced anything like it before, and I didn't realise how much an effect it probably had on me at the time. But that was really the only time I ever saw Panto, when I was a child.
Interesting. A lot of the guests that we've spoken to so far were those kids who went up for the song sheet, but Iain Lauchlan didn't do that.
No. I was really shy at school. I was so shy. I had so few friends. I'd only had a couple of really good friends, and I wouldn't say boo to anybody. I was so quiet until when I got to secondary school. I was still very quiet, and it was my maths teacher, who was my year teacher, whatever it was, and he made me class leader. I thought, what? He actually lived he didn't live near me, but he got the same bus as me, and he obviously saw that I was quite, I didn't really speak to many people, and I don't know what he saw in me, but he made me class leader. I don't know, the world kind of opened up from there, and I eventually became the class joker, really, for some reason. I suddenly turned around, and my sister was going out with a boy that everybody wanted to go out with, and he was the real guitar player and everything, and he taught me to play the guitar, and my life just changed. I became kind of life and soul of the party, the joke teller, the clown, which was so different from what my early childhood was like, and it was all thanks to my maths teacher, really.
As an actor, obviously an awful lot of stuff that you mentioned already in theatre, but on television as well, everything from Taggart to Casualty and a number of others. Can you remember the Old Man of Lochnagar in the West End?
Yes. Yeah, David Wood's play. He wrote The Old Man of Lochnagar. He got the rights for Prince Charles' story, The Old Man of Lochnagar, and he was looking for an old man. I think he was going to ask Billy Connolly, actually, originally, but I don't think he did. And he saw me doing something, and he offered it to me, and that was fantastic. It was really good production, very good children's show, and we did a tour. We toured it right around the country for quite a number of weeks, and then we ended up in the West End with it. It was a lovely show to do. It was really quirky. It was a quirky story anyway in the first place, with Prince Charles writing it anyway. But and Quentin Blake, he did all the illustrations, and the show was lovely. David made a lovely job of the show, some great songs in it, and we just had a lovely time doing it. And I met a lot of friends in that show that I still keep up with. It was just a lovely time.
So at that time, you were already getting into children's television, and I mentioned some of them already, Play School and Finger Mouse we didn't mention either. There are others. Was that running alongside the theatre career in the early days?
To be honest with you, I just wanted to be an actor. I didn't really want to do anything else. And I did loads of drama in Scotland. I did a lead in a series called The Camerons. I did a lead in a series called King's Royal. I did the leads in 2 Plays for Today. I did Square Mile of Murder. I did lots of good stuff, all networked from Scotland. And when I came down south, I decided to move down south in 1980. My daughter had just been born, and it was a bit of a wrench for everybody, but I'd had enough of the Scottish circuit, and I just couldn't get into drama down here, television drama. I went up for lots of things. I just missed out on 2 very big things. It was between me and Ben Cross for The Citadel, which I really wanted to do, but Ben Cross got it in the end. And also Chariots of Fire, the Ian Charleston part. I can't tell you the number of screen tests I had and all sorts, and I thought I had a real chance of getting it because they wanted an unknown for it, but they went for Ian Charleston in the end. So 2 big things I really just missed out on, and I just couldn't really seem to break into drama down here. And when I was working at the Belgrade Theatre as an actor, I was doing quite a lot of theatre. I worked with a Play School presenter, and he said, you should try it, you should go and audition for them. He says, I think you might be quite good at it. And I didn't really want to be a presenter. Presenting just didn't I just really didn't want to do it. I wanted to be an actor. However, I had a child and I had a dog and a wife, and we lived in a bedsit in Fulham. So I thought
you better put that in a different order in case she's listening.
Oh yes, sorry, wife and dog. I was away so much of the time doing rep, and I just thought, I'll do it. And it just happened that Play School was auditioning. They auditioned so rarely, and I heard that they were doing some auditions, so I went along. And they gave me 5 programs to start with. You did 5 at a time. I did it for 9 years. I did the very last one, actually, the very last Play School in the end. And from that, I kind of fell into children's presenting, because I did Finger Mouse, Play Days, I did Story Time. I did about 5 children's radio programs for Radio 4, and I did loads and loads of presenting at that time. I was still doing quite a lot of theatre as well. And I got the chance to be a producer on the Play Days. So I ended up producing 3 Play Days, 3 of the daily Play Days programs. And that was from a theatre show, because I convinced them to do a live Play Days tour, which they'd never considered doing. And I was live was my thing anyway. So they let me do it, and it was a great success. It was funny, through Play Days, I met Will Brenton, who was one of the presenters, because the producers kept us apart for ages, because they didn't think we'd get on for some reason. They said, we just didn't think the two of you would get on, so we kept you apart. So there was this one program, the Roundabout Stop, where we ended up working together, and we just hit it off with each other. And Will, of course, Will and I worked together for about 14 years as writers and producers and directors, and we made a lot of stuff together. And that was a great partnership.
So all the time you're working in children's television, you're acting at the same time. The seeds are being sown of ideas for your own children's television projects. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Fun Song Factory was the first, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Will and I put a program idea together and pitched it to a company who said they wanted it. And we were on quite a high, because we thought we were going to get our first program made. I can't remember the name of it now. And it turned out that they bought it, or they took it from us as an option for very little money, only to put it on the shelf to get it out of the way, because it was clashing with one of their programs. So it didn't get made in the end, and we were just so angry about the whole thing. We came back to Will's house, I remember, in Croydon, and we sat down and we wrote Fun Song Factory. It just sort of kind of poured out of us, really, and it became. And we only really were going to make one video of action songs, Fun Song Factory. That was our idea, and we pitched it to a company, and who would sell videos. That's who did it. See if we could get the money together for it, and it turned out we ended up doing about 9 in the end. And then it went to television, and it was a lovely program. And people still stop me to speak about Fun Song Factory, because it hit such a nerve, especially with children with mental health. It hit a nerve there, and they just seemed to couldn't get enough of it. In fact, I've got 2 lads who are now teenagers who come to see my Panto every year, who are fanatical about Fun Song Factory, and that's how they got to know me. And they come and see the Panto every year and come backstage and say hello, because they're still Fun Song Factory fans.
That's amazing. That is amazing, isn't it?
I know.
And then, I mean, obviously that was a success. The eventual juggernaut that was the Tweenies came along, which really must have changed your life. And it's interesting because it runs side by side with Panto, because in many ways your Belgrade family of Panto people, not just cast members like Will, who you played Damon Comic with for many years, but then also people like Liz Kitchen, who wrote some of the songs for Tweenies, who wrote songs for your Pantos. So you had a great team, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. It was funny, because every time I think of the Tweenies, I think of Panto, because it was so linked to Panto. I heard that they were looking, because Teletubbies had been such a success, but the Teletubbies were supposed to do from 0 to 5, which it never ever would. It only did from 0 to 2.5 or something. So they needed something to cover the 3 to 5. And they put another tender out to about 18 companies, which we weren't involved in. And Will and I were playing Ugly Sisters at the Belgrade at the time.
Chaos.
Yeah, chaos, yes. I remember us standing in the dressing room in full costume, or probably our underwear actually, and I found, because I had been a producer of Playdays, I kind of knew everybody at the BBC, so we found the commissioning director and said, look, I know there's a company who you've asked to do it, and they don't want to do it. She just didn't want to do it. She didn't want to get involved with it. And so I asked, could we take her place? And he said, well, yeah, okay. So he sent us out all the information, which was like, this program had to do everything, absolutely everything. It was a huge brief. We were given that brief, and Will and I put this program together. Well, basically 4 kids in a room, you know. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it was 5 kids in a room because one of them got cut.
Yes.
We put this together, and we thought, well, even if they like the idea, they won't take it. But even if they like it, there were so many big players, being asked to do this pitch, and we thought at least we might get something else out of it. They might say, well, give it, so do this, but we kept getting knocked down to we're in the last 10, and then we're in the last 5, and then we were down to the last 2, and we thought, oh my God, we might get this. And it turned out we did get it. We went into the BBC one day, we thought for a budget meeting, because they wanted 130 programmes up front. Of course, we didn't have any infrastructure at all. We do a little office, that's all we had. And so we thought, well, let's go and see, we'll try and answer these questions on the budget. And they said, look, we really love your idea, we love it. The problem is that we need to get a company that is based outside the M25. It's just politically, it needs to be outside the M25. I'm going, what? And I said, well, my head office is in Banbury. That's where I live. I said, my company is based in Banbury. He went, really? So they all left the room and left us in this boardroom. And they came back and they said, well, we've decided we'd like to offer you the job. But it was 130 programmes we were going to ask for, and we thought, well, of course, they're never going to ask us to do that. We were so new to the business. And they said, we'd like to do 260.
Oh, wow.
And we went, what? What? And so, I mean, we never said a word to each other as we walked through the BBC and out till we got outside, and we were just in shock. We had to gear up pretty quickly. We ended up moving to Elstree Film Studios and getting the studio and all. I mean, it was just a massive job, and it was life-changing, Martin. It was just life-changing. So it was the biggest thing really ever. And of course, then they commissioned another 130 after that. So we did 390 in the end. Yeah, it was a big one.
Plus the DVDs, the live tours, a #1 hit single.
Absolutely. Top of the Pops and all that sort of stuff. And yes, and we wrote and I directed all the big arena shows we did, and which led on to me doing all the CBeebies big arena shows, which was, and the Tom Satang Engine one and the Bob the Builder one, and it just kind of rolled on from there. It just got bigger and bigger. And talking about Panto, as well as us being in the Belgrade while we got that commission, when we asked for it, we were working at the time with Bob Golding, who was in the show, who did the voice of Milo and the voice of Max. Justin was in the show as well, so he did the voice of Jake and he did the voice of Doodles. And Colleen, who did the voice of Fizz, they were all in the show. Yeah. We asked them to do some voices for us for the tryout, to send in. We did a tryout video thing for our pitch, and they helped us all out with that, and that's the thing. And they ended up doing the voices,
Yeah.
And their careers have just, certainly Justin, my God, superstar, really.
Absolutely. Who would have predicted Mr. Tumble would take television by storm in the same way that Tweenies did? But, all of that incredible success overnight, you were still doing Panto, and you have done for 30 or 40 years possibly at the Belgrade. Either when you haven't been in them, you've been writing and directing them, but you've been in most of them.
Yeah.
When COVID-19 came along, bearing in mind you've got other projects as well with your own television studios, Cheeky Chimps and so on, what sort of impact did COVID-19 have on you?
When I look back on that year, there's definitely highs and lows. I've got a little TV studio here in Warwickshire, and it was really beginning to pick up. We were getting lots of work and lots of things happening, and then as soon as lockdown happened, then we lost everything. Everything went. So I had no work in the studio, although I have to keep the studio going. And personally, on the other front, from the writing point of view, directing and acting, everything, that all just disappeared as well. So I had absolutely nothing for quite a number of months. The Panto, of course, was cancelled, and so I was left last year with basically nothing. But so I suggested to the Belgrade that we did a digital panto to see if they would put some money into it and we could do a panto here in my studio, which would use the studio, and do it digitally, very much to camera, very much do it televisually, not film it in a theatre, to stream. So we did that. That was definitely a highlight, one of the highlights of last year, just to do that, to go back to do some work, to doing something which was different, taking the panto and putting it online. It was lovely. It was great to do with a fantastic team, and it was just lovely to do. And also I did the Santa show the same way, and I played Santa for the first time, and we did the Santa show and we streamed that as well. Easter there, I went down to the New Forest to film something for someone with a big animatronic bear and some puppets in the New Forest, and that was lovely to do, just to get out and do something. So that was another highlight. And the other highlight was that I did a promo for something called the Mood Bears, which is a bears for children with mental health that this lady has put together. And I did a promotions for her, and she asked me to write some books of the Mood Bears. So I took the characters and I wrote 4 stories, and I chose one of them, and I got some illustrations done for it, and I've got my first publishing deal.
Wow.
Which is absolutely amazing. Cherish Productions have taken on, and they're linked to a mental health charity as well. So it's just the road has just started. I've just signed a contract. So I've actually, after all these years, done my first book, which is absolutely lovely. It's all linked to the Mood Bears. So I have got 1 or 2 highlights through the year, but the rest of the work, absolutely, I've been doing my carpentry.
Well, you keep yourself busy, that's for sure. You always have, though, haven't you? And I think we ought to mention, I said at the very beginning, you know the Imagine Theatre story better than anybody, because as you were developing, I think it was Wish Films, wasn't it, that was making lots of stuff for Disney, for the BBC. You talked about Tweenies. There are others that you did, animated series and so on. It was obvious that you were having to stand back from your own Panto production company, which was initially Telltale, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And through its reformation, it's had various titles over the years. You're still involved now, but just talk us through that. We spoke to Steve Bowden on the very first programme, who's now, of course, managing director of Imagine Theatre. Initially, it was your company with Will and the team that we mentioned, and those early days were important because you had all the sets and all the scripts and everything that, only were being used at the Belgrade Theatre, so it made practical sense to make the best of that, didn't it? How did that all start?
Yeah, we decided that we wanted to try and do some of our own shows, and so we needed some sort of infrastructure. I mean, to be honest with you, it started off with one of the barns in the local farm, and we kept all our sets there that we collected, and Steve had collected some stuff and I'd collected some stuff, and we went and we bought some stuff here and there and that stuff, just collect things together to do pantos and shows and stuff, and of course Will and I had written a whole series of pantos, so the scripts were there, and it was just really getting the venues, and I mean, Steve has always been involved. I mean, I remember Steve coming to see the shows when he was just a young lad. He used to start putting his own shows in Leamington and things like that. He was always destined to be a kind of entrepreneur and producer of programs, because that's all he wanted to do, really. Mm-hmm. And we kind of got to know each other, and he started looking after that side of the business for me when I was busy doing all the television stuff, and when the company changed over and everything, he bought the company from us. He took it over and started building up, and then I helped him to get going with various things, and then of course we had all the infrastructure stuff which we could use and that sort of stuff, and he really started motoring along, and he got a place in Coventry, his own store in Coventry, which was much better than the barn and all that sort of stuff. So he started really, really moving it forward. When I stood back from my production company, my television production company, I had a family loss, and I just kind of wanted to just stand back from everything. I just didn't want to be involved with it anymore. So I became a creative director with Steve in the production company. So he became my boss in the end. And I worked there for a few times, just trying to help set things up and do things and move things along. He'd got a few Panto venues and everything. He was doing really well. And so he's just built it up from there. And I write scripts for them and do whatever I can for them. But, you know, they're very much their own entity now, and they're very well respected in the business. They do quite a number of Pantos every year. And I get involved with one or two of them, but not much. But I still keep my ties very close. Still, Steve and I are still friends, and of course, and we keep in touch all the time. So it's lovely to see that they've managed to get through this pandemic thing, and they're still there. They're still vibrant. So hopefully they'll be able to do some Pantos this year and really start to pick up again.
I mean, it sums up theatre in a way, doesn't it? It's like a big family. The Belgrave Theatre is still very much linked into what Imagine Theatre do, and is intrinsically linked through the television stuff that you've done in the past. It'd be nice to bring that family together again, wouldn't it, this Christmas at the Belgrade? Is that the plan at the moment?
Yes, the Belgrade have decided that they want to do a full-blown Panto this year. They're hoping that they'll be able to fill the theatre normally without self-distancing. It's still a question, of course. So I think if they have to self-distance, they'll do more shows. But they also want to, in the first week of the run, film it in the theatre so that they've got a streaming version if they need it. I suppose the big problem is our children's chorus, because, you know, the children are getting tested twice a week at school, and if one of them tests positive, then the show would shut down. So I think that's the biggest problem we have at the moment.
I think it's the biggest challenge as well, isn't it? You know, there are various other types of theatre that can return, particularly two-handers, small companies, smaller venues, you know, where it's easier to manage and so on. You know, Panto epitomises everything for me that is good about live entertainment. You know, some people might say, oh, I love a live concert, or I love live drama, or whatever, but actually Panto's got everything. It's got all of those things together. And that brings all the challenges that come with it during a pandemic like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because the audience is so important. And because it's quite a large cast, and there's so many things can go wrong, I suppose. It's more difficult to put it on, and also the stakes are quite high because theatres do rely on their pantomime for their income.
On the other hand, you must be missing getting into a rehearsal room with a company of actors, some of which you'll have worked with before, people like Craig Hollingsworth, for instance, and creating that fun.
Oh, no, absolutely. I can't wait. I can't wait to get started again. It's such a social business, isn't it, really? We like work, whereas a lot of people, unfortunately, work to survive. We survive to work, you know, because we love doing the job. It doesn't feel like work. It's not like a chore. We enjoy it so much, and we enjoy the social side of it. We enjoy that interaction, and we enjoy the audiences. So it's something which we miss. We're not just missing work. We're missing something which we really, really enjoy.
In the meantime, what about your TV studios and your own TV projects as well? Is there anything else in the pipeline?
Well, I've just made some more children's songs, some action songs for my Cheeky Chimps TV, some fun songs to sing. So they're going up every week on my YouTube channel. As I say, I've just done the Bear in the Woods project for Away Resorts. So that was lovely to do. I'm finishing off a project which is a piano course for children. Called Dogs and Birds, which has been going on for, it seems like the whole of my life. It's 91 videos for this Hungarian lady who's a piano teacher. So we're doing that, and I'm at a meeting this morning just about it's a young writer who wants to. He wants to do something called Puppet Players. He's got some puppets, and he wants to do traditional stories told by him and the puppets, actually, the puppets acting it out, which is quite a nice idea, and he's a nice writer, actually. I like his style. So I'm just putting a tryout day together for him so we can try out and see how we're going to use the puppets best, and then hopefully record 2 of the stories for him.
Let's hope all that comes to fruition. We're keeping our fingers crossed, of course, for theatres, for all entertainment, particularly Panto this Christmas. So let's hope we're back on stage for Christmas 2021. Yeah. Final 3 questions to finish with, Iain.
Yeah.
What's your favourite Panto title?
Oh gosh, there's so many to choose from, but I love Jack and the Beanstalk. I don't know. I just love the story, just the adventure of the whole thing. The principal boy, and just that adventure, that little young hero thing, and it's got the giant, and it's got the cow, and it's got lots of nice traditional routines in it. I love Jack and the Beanstalk.
Is that as a dame, or is that as somebody sitting in the audience?
I think probably as someone sitting in the audience. As a dame, I think probably Aladdin. Mm-hmm. I think Aladdin is the one that, I don't know which one you prefer, but being Dame, Widow Twanky is such a great character.
I agree entirely. I think Twanky is the perfect Dame for me. Dame Trot's got so much, and the adventure is arguably better in Jack and the Beanstalk, but for any Dame, I think Widow Twanky is the role, isn't it?
Yeah, Widow Twanky, definitely. She's it's just, it revolves kind of around her. I mean, I know Aladdin's very important, but it's so lovely because she's got that relationship with all the characters, with the baddie and with Aladdin and with Wishy Washy. That relationship between Wishy Washy and Widow Twanky is just so rich.
Sadly, I've never appeared on stage with you in Panto or anything else, but I do know from people that I've spoken to that you have a certain twinkle in your eye when you're on stage. There's a certain mischief that comes with Iain Lauchlan. And I know in any Panto, in any show, things will go wrong. So with that in mind, when was it not all right on the night?
Oh, Martin, there is one which which sticks out so far. It was the Sleeping Beauty. We were ready to go. It was press night. It was full of people.
Oh no! And
full of press. Everything in the pit went down. The computer went down. We had no music at the beginning of the show, and we thought, right, they'll be able to sort that out, I'm sure. And so we hung on for about half an hour. I mean, Craig and I when I certainly did, I went out about 3 times to the audience and said, don't worry, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. We're just having a little glitch, and sorry about that, and we did a few laughs and that sort of stuff. And I would come back into the wings, and then it's nothing. And what I found out was that my sound guy had not backed up any of the sound, because we usually, open up with our computer, but we always have backups on something else so that if it goes down, we have them. So we had no backup, we had no computer, and we couldn't get sound out the pit. I said, we're going to have to cancel. I mean, cancel a show is bad enough, but cancelling the press night was just... So I had to go out onto the stage and say, I'm sorry, we just cannot get anything to work. It's just we've got no music, no sound. We just can't. It just won't work. We're going to have to cancel tonight and refund everybody. Blah blah blah, all the rest of it. And so everybody went home.
I tell you what, you can laugh about it now, Iain. But how long did it take before you could laugh about it?
Oh, I tell you, it was shocking. It was shocking. It was. Cancelling a show is something I would do. It's usually death is the only excuse, So the headlines the next day, of course, was Weeping Beauty. It's only ever happened twice, we've had to cancel, and it was that one. And the other time was people saw the first half of the show and it was going so brilliantly, and then the iron came in and wouldn't go out.
We had somebody else relaying another story about that at another theatre where the safety curtain wouldn't go out at all. It was actually for a tour of Joseph, and the cast, it was at the interval, the cast came out and sang the songs from the show in front of the iron for the second half. But you have to feel for the audience because they're not getting the full show, are they?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, let's finish with something uplifting then, because Panto means so many different things to so many different people. But why is it so special for you?
Well, I've dabbled in quite a few things. I mean, in television drama, television presenting, live theatre, live drama, radio. I've done so many different aspects of the theatre and that sort of stuff. And Panto, it means so much to me because, as you said before, it embodies everything. You have to be confident with what you're doing. The routines have to be absolutely spot on. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of hard work to get things right. The important thing is that the final person in the cast is the audience, and so the show is never complete until the first night when you get your audience. Because of the audience and because of that no fourth wall that's been broken down, there's nothing like it. That contact has to be there. and the audience has to be with you to make it work properly. So it's that all-consuming kind of theatre, which I don't think exists anywhere else. When you get it right, it's absolutely brilliant.
It certainly is. Challenging times. We really hope that Panto is back across the country in every possible venue this Christmas. And Iain, I hope that we see you back at the Belgrade again this year. All the best with all the other projects that you're working on in the meantime, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Not at all. My pleasure. Thank you very much, Martin.
And that just about brings the curtain down on episode 7, I'm afraid. Don't forget, though, you can still listen to any of the previous episodes. Just make sure you subscribe through your favourite podcast app. And in the meantime, make sure you join me, Martin Ballard, next time when I'll be talking to lighting designer Jamie Corbidge on episode 8 of Just Imagine. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the latest edition of Just Imagine, the podcast series from Imagine Theatre. And you can find out more by going to www.imaginetheatre.co.uk.